Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
I think this phrase is a great way to start the week. When God solves your problems, you have faith in His abilities. When God doesn't solve your problems, He has faith in your abilities. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch on a Monday. I got a bird right behind me that's chirping like crazy in the screen through the open window. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch, sponsored by your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, some of our great advertisers, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland in Burley. And our friends at Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call Kelly 734-6969. And we say a good morning to Gina.
Guten Tag, meine Freunde.
What?
Good morning, my friend.
Oh, okay.
Well, that was German. You're German. You should know this.
Yeah, I know. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all I know how to count in German.
6, 8, 9, 10.
Okay. But whatever you said, that's cool with me. Okay?
Right. 7, 8, 9, 10. Good morning to you and happy Monday.
Oh, no. Let's just say good morning and leave it at that. There's no such thing as a happy Monday, for heaven's sakes. It was Sweat City yesterday.
Oh, my goodness. We were working on one of the cars yesterday out at the shop, and literally sweat pouring. It was miserable.
I went out and saddled up a horse last night about 5:30, and I don't know who got more of a workout, me or the horse. Man, it was hot out there.
Ooh, and today it's going to be a scorcher, too. So, of course, we do have Michael on for the weather and Mr. Al Butler on for the pledge.
All right, Mr. Al, the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Yeah, you got a bird there singing happy?
Yeah, he is right behind me.
Yeah, well, be like that bird singing and be happy.
Okay, all right, I will. Give us the pledge, Al, thanks.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very well done, my friend. Thanks, Al.
Yep, just be like the bird and sing.
I will. I certainly will try. I can't believe it. Thanks, Al. Appreciate it. Yeah, right behind us on the limb outside this open window, I got 2 birds that are chirping up a storm. Anyway, it's time for the weather, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. We had the lovely Whitney Cheney on the phone with us last week. Look for their blue door, and they specialize in all the hardwood and the laminates and the vinyl sheeting and all the natural stone, Oakley stone, all the countertops, everything where your home design needs are aisles apart, not miles apart. Get a hold of them today, 678-6945. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. And now, here's Michael Rogers' weather.
Another scorcher for today. I'm going to get serious about the weather before I make this announcement. You got a red flag warning for the Magic Valley. It's going to take place pretty much all week long. A lot of people have a tendency not to focus on watches and warnings from the National Weather Service. This is a good time for you to focus on it. And for your area right now, it's pretty dry, and it's going to stay dry. So where am I going with all this? You take a match and throw it on the ground right now, you can start a fire. And if it doesn't do it on the first match, it'll probably do it on the second match. If you're driving down Interstate 84 and you're smoking a cigarette and you just want to throw that puppy out there in the middle of the interstate in the median, you might start a fire. That's how bad it is. You're going to look for a high today of 100, and you're going to get cooler by Sunday, so it won't be that bad. You should hit 88 for the high on Sunday. Big announcement from Michael Rogers concerning my photography. I've been in Alaska since April. As of, let's say, last week. One of my photographs of Mount McKinley, which is the highest peak in North America, is going to be the cover photo of the 2015 calendar of Alaska Magazine. Alaska Magazine is a very large magazine distributed all over the United States. And my photograph of Mount McKinley is going to be on the cover of that calendar. Things have changed. We have now gone from college to the NFL, and the speed is a lot faster. Things have changed dramatically. One thing that I can share with you, although I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm working on it right now, I'm being asked to shoot photographs in Europe and Austria, shooting landscape photography. So that's what's happening to me, and that's why I kept saying it was life-changing. And I just wanted to share that with you because if it wasn't for the fact that Zeb Bell let me shoot photographs of him and everybody else in the Twin Towers in the Magic Valley of South Central Idaho, none of this would ever happen. There you go. Enjoy the weather. Dylan, what do you got?
Congratulations to Michael Rogers, weather.com, and his photography. Congratulations. Great job. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley, sponsoring the weather. Phone 678-6945. Oh, we've got a very, very busy day, and a lot of good guests coming on the program. I want to remind you, too, that Babe Zanino is going to have his Jerome County Fair Team Roping Series on Wednesday night. Sign up at 6:30, rope at 7 at the Jerome County Fairgrounds. Don't forget that. Don't forget, too, Darrell's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. They're always there serving you with the very best of cleaning your clothes, cleaning your drapes and your curtains, and cleaning your tablecloths, just getting all the stains of life out of everything and making your rumply crumplies look brand spanking new. And I'll tell you what, frequent dry cleaning lengthens the life of your garments, so be sure and take care of them at Darrell's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Well, by the way, we're very blessed to have our friends at SafeLink Internet on this program. And the number to call, 677, I got to find my old number here. What happened to it? It's gone. 677-8000. Isn't that correct, Deanne? The old number for SafeLink? It's not on there. Would you find that for me? And get 3 for free. Summer specials. You get free router, free 30-day risk trial, free installation, all of this from our friends at SafeLink Internet Services. And I would suggest you get a hold of them today. 677-8000, Idaho's number one choice for high-speed wireless internet. SafeLink, thank you very much. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We had a very, very nice weekend in Elko, Nevada, and we were down there for the Silver State Stampede. It was cooler than it was up here by far, and they even had a rainstorm on Friday night that cooled things off, and it was really, really pleasant. So I just want to say thank you to all the people down at Elko, Nevada at the Silver State Stampede. It was a great time, absolutely a fun time. One thing I want to mention this morning, and I could not believe that this article was put in the paper on the front page of the op-ed section yesterday when I got home and I was reading the Times News. This editorial, written by Kathleen McKevitt, was the worst written editorial I have ever read in the Times News. It is the worst written for grammar. It is one of the worst written for spelling, and it's one of the worst written for lack of facts. I was appalled when I read this. And of all the editorials in yesterday's paper, and you can check this out yourself if you still have yesterday's opinion editorial section, all of the other editorials in the paper yesterday all had at the end of the editorial or at the beginning a footnote as to who wrote the editorial and a little bit about them and where they are representing, what area. And there was nothing on this one for Kathleen McKevitt because I was going to try to get her on the program. She absolutely, really, I'm not trying to pick at her because the subject matter was killing wolves without reason. That was her title. but it was so poorly written and the spelling was atrocious. She mentioned Purdue University, and it was P-E-R-D-U-E. Well, anybody that knows anything about one of the major universities in our country knows it's P-U-R, not P-E-R. And then she said at the very beginning, the get-go of the article, that 60% of the wolves that are going to be killed without reason, according to her, is an idea bought but not paid for by the National Rifle Association. Now, that is a pretty serious allegation. And I called my dear friend Jack Euler, and that's the first he'd ever heard of that kind of thing, and nobody knows more about the wolf issue than Jack does. And this whole editorial was absolutely atrocious, with some of the allegations without fact, and the misspelling and the terrible grammar that she used in the writing of this editorial, and besides that, she doesn't know what she's talking about. So Kathleen McKevitt, wherever you are, because the Times News didn't put your address or anything in the paper, I would love to have you on the program to defend yourself, but I find this article and editorial indefensible. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I'd like to hear from you. By the way, this coming, let's see, what is this? Today is the 14th, and I want to take a look at my calendar. On Friday over at Valleywide Home and Ranch, you're going to have all kinds of specials for the 4-H'ers. Yes, you are. Listen to what they're going to be doing over there. They're going to have burgers for $1, and that's going to be at Valleywide Home and Ranch, and 100% of the money benefits local 4-H groups, 50-cent fountain drinks, and 4-H kids will receive 10% off on their projects and supplies and their supplements. Oh, there's going to be all kinds of sales throughout the store, and don't forget your hunting and fishing licenses, everything over there at Valleywide Home and Ranch. You stop in and see these great folks today. Valleywide with Steve and Mandy, the whole crew, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Really nice folks. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Once again, I know that talking to Keith Ramsey last week, he said they were deluged. They were absolutely deluged with a lot of people coming in to get new air conditioner filters. I almost said furnace filters, and I meant to say right from the get-go, air conditioning filters. And if you haven't changed yours and got it all set for the hot weather that we're having, we're going to get hot weather every summer. Everybody does. Don't worry about it. It won't be here that long. But I'll guarantee you better make sure you're cool and make sure your filter is a good one for your air conditioner. You stop in and see Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459, where they always provide warm winters and cool summers. All right, your turn, folks. Come on, give me a call. I want to ask you this question this morning. Are you in any way, shape, or form with your politics, your beliefs, etc., are you a racist? We've talked about this many, many times in the past. Are you a racist? Does race enter into your feelings about this administration? Does race enter in your likes and dislikes to what Obama has done or not done? Does race enter into Eric Holder and the Department of Justice? Or is it just absolutely because you don't like them? It's because of their policies and their ideology. Quite frankly, I believe in the latter. It is their absolutely inept, very unprofessional, very unthought out policies that have caused all the trouble. You know, I don't care if somebody's green. Get the job done for the American people, and this administration has not got the job done. And for Eric Holder to turn around and relate to a speech that he had given in 2009 about how the race card is being played by everybody in this country, it's absolutely sickening. And he says now the problems with Obama and the reason that his policies are failing is because of race. People don't like Obama because of his race. What are your thoughts about? I find that to be highly offensive to me this morning. And he said, I still think that we are a nation that is too afraid to confront racial issues. And he said that Americans are still hesitant to reach out to one another across the color line to talk about racial issues. I'm offended by this because race has absolutely nothing to do with my complete dislike and disdain for this president and his administration. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You know, on the one hand, back to 2008, and you know this is true, we were really pushing on this program to see if Condoleezza Rice would not run against Barack Obama. Condoleezza on the Republican Party against Barack Obama on the Democrats. But yet these very small-minded Democrats in this immediate area of Twin Falls, Burley, etc., they came after me and called me a racist because I was against Barack Obama. Now that makes a lot of sense and shows that they have the common sense intelligence of a billy goat, because here I am backing Condoleezza Rice. Oh, gee, by the way, she is black, to run for president. At the same time, they're calling me a race baiter because I'm not supporting Barack Obama. It's absolutely insane. And Eric Holder has called us a nation of cowards on race. Now, how can a guy like Eric Holder, who is, gee, Zeb, don't say it. Yes, he is. He's black. How can he call us a nation of cowards when we have a black attorney general, we have a black president, we have more blacks in federal positions than ever before, but we're a nation of cowards on race? You've got to explain that to me. And he said we're afraid to confront racism. What confrontation is needed? That's my question to you this morning. What confrontation on race is needed? When there has been elections and appointees that are black, why do we need confrontations on racism? I think that John Kerry, I think that Hillary Clinton, and I think even John Boehner on the Republican side are white people that absolutely need to be replaced. Is that going to be called racist also in some regard? I doubt it. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. You know, the fact that we oppose the president's policies, and he's basically a mulatto, he's not even half black in, as far as his DNA, that doesn't mean, I mean, we've been opposed to all kinds of president's policies over the years, at least I have, and so just because his skin color is a little dark, that doesn't mean I'm racist, and I don't think any of the conservatives out there feel that way at all. Teddy Roosevelt said, you support the president in so much as he supports the Constitution.
Yeah, that's right.
I can determine, and you've mentioned this many times, I think he just totally ignores the Constitution. He's done so with his pen and with his cell phone.
You know, there are a lot of people, Adrian, that are very concerned that this president, and I had a call this morning, as a matter of fact, prior to the program start. There are a lot of people that are very concerned that Obama will do something, quote, something, prior to 2016 to possibly subvert or circumvent the Constitution and attempt to stay in office past 2016.
Well, that's a real possibility. I mean, you see Homeland Security, EPA, even Social Security Administration, if you can believe, is preparing for something. They're buying, they got all kinds of weapons, all kinds of ammunition, hollow points no less, and I don't think they're going to be out doing any hunting of any sort unless it's two-legged citizens. You know, it just really, it disturbs people when we find out what they're doing, how they're preparing, all these different agencies preparing for something. And so what your scenario, what you're suggesting is not beyond the possibility.
Yeah. This man has gone against the Constitution on many, many issues, and now, I don't know if you're aware of this, and I've got to run and do a commercial break, but I want you to respond shortly on this. He is approaching the governors of various states and kind of doing some arm twisting with them to accept all the illegal alien children from the border. And that is against the Constitution. He has to go through Congress, and he is not.
Well, absolutely. They've been using extortion for almost all of these things. I know City Twin Falls spent $24 million on arsenic reduction, which was a total waste. But the administrator in the city told me personally, in person, that the reason they went along with that, not because there's any science, but because they would lose all their federal grants.
Yeah.
And the state of Idaho now gets a third of its budget from the federal government. Unfortunately, that's the case. So now we're being extorted on a lot of different situations.
Adrian, I always appreciate your call, and Adrian's going to be on our program next week on Wednesday, and we're going to be talking about Agenda 21 and a lot of the trade agreements, etc. Thank you for your call this morning. I do appreciate it.
You bet.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Hey, don't forget our friends at Berry Equipment and Rental, and man, they're a rental business. They've been in business over 30 years in the Magic Valley, Berry Equipment and Rental, and they've got all the construction equipment, and they got the skid steers, the man lifts, the excavators, and all the Bobcat equipment. They've got all the tillers, the Doosan loaders. They've got everything for rent and purchase at Berry Equipment and Rental. Now, 3 locations: Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln and Jerome, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. The best Berry Equipment and Rental. Lee Eli is our man in Twin Falls. Nick's the man over in Burley. Stop in and see them today. Berry Equipment and Rental. Real fast, I want to remind you about our friends at Denny's Restaurant. Now, here's what we've done. We've had to change the lunch bunch. We were going to do it on the 24th. Can't do that on the 24th. We're going to move it to the 31st of this month, so in 2 weeks. Lunch bunch at Denny's Restaurant, absolutely the best place in the world to go eat. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I love breakfast at Denny's. 611 Overland in Burley. They've got a menu that is absolutely fantastic. And the nicest people, the best of service, you're going to love it. Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Real fast, caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. Saturday night we was listening to Janine Justice, and she invites people to send in comments about stuff. And she got comments that says, why don't they bust illegal kids into Washington, D.C. and send them in the White House? I thought, yay! Right up my alley.
Well, I'll tell you something. This situation has turned into a complete chaotic mess, all caused by this administration. There can be no pride in Mudville over what Obama and his administration have done and are continuing to do, not only to these kids, but also to every single American citizen. There is a complete disrespect for the rule of law and the rule of citizenship in this country by the Obama administration.
It's worse than that. He wants to dig a hole and put us in it.
Well, the hole's getting deeper every day.
It did make us dig it.
Helen, I agree with you. Thank you for your call, as always. God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Time for the Capital Press Ag Minute. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Give me your thoughts. Give us a call. Here's the Capital Press Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
Environmental authorities are considering new regulations to prevent biotech crops from causing herbicide resistance in weeds. The new restrictions would pertain to herbicides that are sprayed on crops genetically engineered to withstand the chemicals, according to an official with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. Many biotech crops can withstand glyphosate herbicides, which ease weed control for farmers. Critics say the crops have encouraged more glyphosate usage, increasing the chances weeds will develop resistance. In response, biotech developers are trying to commercialize new genetically engineered crops that can withstand additional herbicides, such as 2,4-D. With the Capital Press Ag Minute, this is Hannah Brose.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and CapitalPress.com.
Oh, thank you very much. And don't forget Snyder's Surplus. Man, we had such a wonderful time with Leland and Tammy and everybody at Snyder's on their grand opening. And that was way back on, June 16th, I think it was. And they're located at 112 South, 200 West of Rupert, and they've got a brand new building after that horrendous fire. Brand new building, brand new merchandise, friendly service as always, and it's not just a military surplus store. They've got everything for you. So please stop in and see them today. Store hours 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, 9 to 1 on Saturdays. These are nice people serving you at Snyder's Surplus. Really good folks. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Are we racist in this country? I mean, my goodness sakes, we elected this man. We, unfortunately, my vote did not go his direction, but I got to say, we as a plurality elected this man not once but twice. And this administration, and now Eric Holder still coming out and standing by his controversial speech, calling us all a nation of cowards. A nation of cowards. And I'm not a coward, and I know you're not a coward. But why in the world are we called names saying that we will not sit down and confront racism? What is there to confront? Really, what is there to confront? Are we supposed to be fined? Are we supposed to be possibly imprisoned if we criticize someone of another race? That's racist. Why, you can't criticize them. Now, they can criticize us. They can call us honkies and whatever else they want to. But now, if we turn the tables and say something about them, then that's racism. And is that what Eric Holder means, that we're not confronting racism? I don't understand this. We elected the supposedly, and he's not, like Adrian said, he's not a black man. He is a mulatto. Now, if that offends some people out there in Radio Land, Obama is supposedly half black and half white. Look it up yourself. That terminology of mulatto comes into play. He's not a black American or a black African American. He is a mulatto. Let's call it what it is. Okay? And where does this racism come in? Why? Good morning, you're on the air.
Zeb, it's just a crutch. You know, people are people. It don't matter what color they are. You know, I've met people of many different races over the years, and all of them are just people. If you treat them nice, or do your best to treat them nice, they'll usually respond. There's a few that are, you know, I don't care what you do, they're going to be opposed to what you think because they don't like the idea that they're not the same color you are. And most people don't even look at that. It don't matter.
That's exactly right.
Treat people as people.
That's right. Jerry, you touched on the whole sensibility of this problem. I don't judge anybody by their color. I judge them by the way they act and treat others and or me. And I am so sick and tired of this race tag being thrown out on people. I've had the racist tag thrown on me by a bunch of dimwits in the left liberal Democratic Party locally, and I'm offended by that. And I will fight back continually to go after them when they run for political office, one of which is running for the State Treasurer's Department. And I'm going to go after her and call her by name, Deborah Silver. I do not want her to win because of her actions towards me.
Zeb, you were more than, went after by them. You were hurt by them. They hurt your pride. They hurt your feelings.
And they hurt my business.
Right to set out to do that to anybody.
That's right. Jerry, I've always appreciated you as a friend and with your remarks. And thank you very much. God bless you and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you. There he goes. I appreciate it.
Bless you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, this racist stuff, I mean, how dare they? They expect that I'm going to sit here on this radio program and not say anything about how they treated me back in 2008 and not say anything about how they called me a racist and everything else and not say that about them when they're trying to run for political office. I will do my utmost. I promise you. to see that those people, those particular people, do not win a political post. I'm going to go after them. What's fair is fair. Only I'm going to do it in a much more professional manner than they did. I'm going to go after them on the ethics of the situation and also their abilities, of which I think they lack. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oakley Pioneer Days. My goodness, this is the big week. Oh, you'd better be ready. Tomorrow night and Wednesday, they're going to have the 6th annual Bump and Rub car race, 4-cylinder car race. Oh, man, they've expanded that to 2 big nights, and it's going to be fantastic. Thursday night, the big Gymkhana. That's always an attention getter. It lasts almost all night long. And then Friday and Saturday night, they've got the rodeo, and they've got on Saturday the big Pioneer Day Parade. Oh, my goodness, it's going to be ripping good fun up at Oakley for Oakley Pioneer Days this weekend with the theme, A Flood of Blessings. And some of the great businesses that want you to come on up and celebrate Oakley Pioneer Days are, of course, Clark's for Shopping, 100 East Main Street in Oakley. Oh, they make that famous breakfast sausage from Grandma's recipe, either bulk patties or links. It is delicious at your hometown grocery store. That's right. Clark's for Shopping, 100 East Main Street in Oakley. And don't forget, too, our good friend Scott Bedke, Speaker of the House, Representative Scott Bedke, rancher in the Oakley area, would like to invite all of you to the best celebration in Idaho, and that's, of course, the Oakley Pioneer Days. This week, July 15th through the 19th, something for everyone. And thank you to Speaker of the House, Scott Bedke. And last but not least, Searles at 106 North Center Street in Oakley, Gas, Grub, and Goodies. I love that. Gas, Grub, and Goodies. They're open 6 in the morning till 9 at night. Locally grown beef and the best burgers and fries and specialty buns that are baked fresh every day at Searles, 106 North Center Street in Oakley. Really nice people. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want you to please call me. And are you a racist because you don't like Obama? Are you a racist because you want to see a complete investigation of Eric Holder and the Department of Justice and their stand on various issues, or not continuing investigations into certain issues? But if you criticize Eric Holder, now really the race card is being played. Do you believe that? Call me, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And how do you respond to being called a nation of cowards because we do not confront racism? And that terminology right there, confronting of racism, I wish somebody would define that for me. Confronting racism. What does that mean? And what really do they, like the Eric Holders and the Barack Obamas, what do they really want people to do or not to do? Give me a call on that, 436-2244. All right, while I'm waiting for your call, I also want to say that Bo Bergdahl, as I stated last week, Bo Bergdahl, this situation is, in my opinion, out of hand and out of legality. Some of you may still be great supporters of Bo Bergdahl. You have that right. But he has been activated. Listen to this very carefully. Bo Bergdahl has been activated to active duty status at Fort Sam Houston. But still, a month and a half, there has been no investigation, no formal inquiries as to what happened, why he walked off post. There has been no investigation per se to answer any of the questions whatsoever as to the term being a deserter. None. And there are many, many people in the military that have called me, and they're extremely upset, thinking that because of the giving back to the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, 5 very instrumental beings in place of Bo Bergdahl, that we have created a real mess over the next couple of years. A tragic mess over the next couple of years. And that's one of the reasons that most all the military people that have called me that are incensed about a man walking off his post and nothing being done about it. Deserter status has been named for Bo Bergdahl. And to think that there has not been a question and answer, a court-martial, anything else, and now the man is back on active duty, it's almost to say we're going to whitewash this through the government, through the Obama administration, and not do a thing about it. Now, if you don't agree with what I just said, you can call me and argue with me all you want. I'll welcome that. But I find it hard to believe that the other soldiers in his platoon and in his camp stayed there and did their duty and went out and risked their lives looking for him as he had walked away from his duty and his platoon. And now the government, basically a month and a half after he's been back in the States and there hasn't been anything done or asked as to what happened, and he's been placed back on active duty at Fort Sam Houston. This makes no sense to me, nor to the military people that I've talked to. Please give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I personally don't understand. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, and don't weaken on this, give me a jingle. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Sugar beet growers, I need your attention. Introducing Preaxor from BASF, the newest form of chemistry for sugar beets to fight disease and potentially increase yield and sugar content of your sugar beets. Preaxor contains headline and a new compound, Xemium, that also provides excellent control of powdery mildew. Like I said, with the application of BASF's Preaxor, 45 to 65 days prior to harvest, you have the potential of higher yields and more sugar content in your sugar beets. All you have to do is contact your local ag chem supplier today. And for more information, also call BASF's Ron Ellis at 431-6776 or Tim Perry at 844-0682. BASF's Preaxor for your better sugar beets. Really good. Really good. You find out about it today. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. And I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on racism that we talked about already this morning. And also some of the problems with this Bo Bergdahl story. And I'd like to hear what you have to say, so give me a jingle. I'm kind of going through my notes here a little bit and trying to find another story that I was talking about. One of the things that I tried to do last week, I mentioned to you that I was going to try to get Dinesh D'Souza on our program again, and I've called and called and called his number. I have his private number, and finally left word. He must be getting 1,000 phone calls because his phone service, all the taping of the phone messages was filled up, and I'm going to try to get him on this program sometime this week about the new patriotic movie called America by Dinesh D'Souza. And if we can get a chance to get this movie scheduled in the Twin Falls and Burley Rupert area, we need to. It's an excellent movie, and I'm going to try to get Dinesh on the program and talk about it in the next couple of days. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I was wondering if anyone knew about I think he's a Marine that is in Mexico prison.
Yes.
That he got lost.
Well, here's what happened last week. Last week they had a hearing for him in Mexico, and the judge basically remanded him back into prison and gave him and granted him another hearing, I believe, on August 4th. And so they're just stonewalling this and just dragging it out. He's been there for like 110 days already. And I'm going to ask you a question right there. Don't you think that the president and also the Secretary of State should have made demands immediately to get him released?
Well, yes, and we're opening up our border to everybody and their brother to come through, and I think these children that are coming through, so say they are children, but they're 14 to 17 years old. Most of them are men or boys, and they're sponsored by either Al-Qaeda or the cartel. Mm-hmm. And they're coming into our countries, or our country. Doesn't that sound kind of like a plan?
Well, let me ask you a question. Ma'am. Tell me another country. Just go ahead and think about this. Tell me another country in the world today that would allow their borders to be as porous and handle things as ineptly as we have on ours. Go ahead and tell me another country.
I really can't. I think that you have to have visas and everything else to even get into most of them.
And you may be shot on sight for crossing the border illegally in many countries.
Well, and just like this, Mexico, they showed a thing on the television the other night, and it looked like it was he just get out of there to make a U-turn, and he couldn't.
Yeah.
And they put him in jail, and he didn't even want to be over there.
What would be...
In the service, he ought to be taken care of immediately and everything. No, I worry for America. Thank you very much.
No, I thank you for your call, and I'm worried about America, too, because we're showing an ineptness and an amateurism and a very lackadaisical attitude on foreign policy. Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you. Nice lady right there. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, here we've got them illegals coming here in here breaking their law all the time from Mexico. They catch one of our men in there with guns once because he made a wrong turn, and they throw him in prison. Why aren't we kicking some of us back across the border? Gather them up, put them back.
Fred, honestly, think about this for a second. What in the world is our policy on the border? What is the policy? We have no policy.
What does the Constitution say?
That's right. There you go. This administration is not following the Constitution. It's not administering the laws. They are bending, kicking, and pushing under the carpet our Constitution. And the American public, being dumbed down and not understanding what the Constitution's value is, we're sitting back on our thumbs and not doing anything outrageous against this president.
That's what is going wrong with this country right there. That's what's going to ruin this country.
I agree.
Is they're not following what our forefathers intended it to be.
If this were Abraham Lincoln, or if this were Franklin Delano Roosevelt, if this were John F. Kennedy, if this were Ronald Reagan, I don't think we would have this problem. It would have been addressed, it would have been settled, and law would have prevailed.
I'm sure that's right, but still some of them were letting the illegals in. But, nobody, ever since Eisenhower, it's been pretty free for these illegals to come in. And he's really the last one of them that put them back across the border.
Okay, but the problem is so easy to solve. When I've talked to the people on the border, I've talked to Sheriff Babu in Pinal County, I've talked to people that are representatives of other areas down there, and they said all we have to do is close the borders. Let's close the border, and then we can start talking about immigration in a legal fashion.
Absolutely, sure. That's the key to it right there, is close the border.
There you go.
But they won't do it.
I know it. Fred, God bless you, man. Thank you.
Countries like you say, they couldn't do it, get away with it on any of the other countries.
That's right. That's right. Fred, thank you again. God bless you, my friend. Take care.
You bet.
Thank you.
Bye.
I'm like Fred. I just don't understand. Frosty Woldridge has been on our program many, many times, and the reason he's not going to be on the program this morning is that he's taken a well-deserved vacation with his lovely wife, and they're going to leave Golden and be gone for about a week. And so many times he's reiterated on this program about bicycling through Europe and how careful they had to be at the various border checkpoints. And here we are in this country. Our southern border is nothing. It's a mockery. It's a disgraceful mockery to the rest of us, the way it's being run and managed. It's not the Border Patrol's fault. It's not the citizenry of the border towns. It's not the county sheriff's fault. It's the government's fault for absolutely tying their hands behind their back, and they can't do anything to protect us in this country. This is a huge mess caused by, lately, this administration, the Obama administration, and exacerbated by this administration. And now this man, Obama, going to the nation's governors and basically doing a little arm twisting under the table, saying, by the way, we've got all these illegals. We'd like to bring some in and dump them off in your state. Will you help us? You will, won't you? That's what he's doing. And I wonder, and I'm going to throw this out, and I'm going to be talking to John Hanyon up at the governor's office right after this program. I wonder if the Obama administration has already called Idaho and Governor Otter, and I want to find out what's going on. We all should call and want to know what's going on. Call us, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Time for the weather, brought to you by Burley Glass. Yes, sirree, 1029 Overland Avenue in Burley. Summer is here. Update your windows before the cold weather comes back. Call General Ben and Leslie at Burley Glass. Get a free bid on windows today, 678-1459. The best. Working hard to provide great service to all the communities in Magic Valley. Burley Glass. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hey everybody, Michael Rogers from Zebedee Ranch. I'm going to serious here with the weather because it is summertime. The easy part is it's going to be sunny, you're going to hit 100. That's the easy part. So what's the hard part? So you got a red flag warning for your area. It's pretty dry there. Now, the number one thing that most folks do not adhere to is those watches and warnings. So let me explain this to you because I've seen this happen. It is so dry in the Magic Valley. You can, if you want to, take a match, throw it on the ground, and you can start a wildfire. That's how dry it is. That's why they put out these watches and warnings. And right now you have a red flag warning. Don't start a match, throw it on the ground, and start a wildfire. Be careful out there. This is going to be in effect all week long because of the warm temperatures. So, you'll cool off when you get to Sunday. You'll hit about 88, but right now you're going to hit triple digits today. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Brought to you by Burley Glass, 1029 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-1459. Hey, by the way, too, don't forget Sophie's Chatterbox, and love this place, 530 East Street on the square in Rupert. You know, you can't ask for a better place to have breakfast, lunch, or supper. Open Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday and Sunday from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., and they've got a bakery that'll knock your socks off, wedding cakes, cookie bars, homemade bread, delicious cinnamon rolls. Oh, my. Sophie's Chatterbox on the square in Rupert. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Gina, over at the station, do you have air conditioning going on?
Yes.
I don't.
Why?
I don't know why we don't have air conditioning, but I bought one of those big fans, you know, one of those great big about, I'd say it's about 3.5, 4 feet, you know, around, great big fan. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I got one of those and plugged it in and it went, and that was it.
That was it?
Yeah, that was it.
Right? Was it brand new?
No, I have made some alterations on the wiring in the past.
Oh, there you go.
Now, wait a minute, lady. It did work for a short period of time.
How short period of a time was it?
No, maybe a day or so after I fixed it. But honest to goodness, I'm sitting here in my office, and the sweat is just running off of me here. It's hot right now. What is the temperature over there?
Here right now, well, when I got to work, it was 64 degrees. I'm going to say a guesstimate of about 72 right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, right here, with the birds chirping in the background on the branch right outside the window, it is extremely warm in the studio, I'll tell you that. Woo! I think tomorrow, if it's this warm, I'm going to put on not much. I'm just going to sit right here, almost naked.
That's a little bit more information than I needed to know.
You know, and for you tuning in on the camera, I'll bet you're going, oh my gosh! Oh, let's take that call real fast. Good morning, you're on the air.
You can't even plug in a fan without blowing things.
Yeah, I can't even plug in a fan without blowing things.
Everything you touch goes kaboom.
All right.
Hello?
All right, let's just see. Gina, turn him off. Let's see if he goes kaboom.
That's a good one.
All right, see you later, Al. God bless you, man. Thanks. Kaboom, he's gone. All right. Oh, don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, my goodness, they've got the best tire value promise in the industry. Yes, they do. And the best in brake service, the best in front end alignments, the best in shocks and struts. Oh, my goodness, the best in batteries, and the best in people. It's people that make a business. Yes, it is. And along with all the great tires that Les Schwab is famous for, they've got really good people that provide the best in service to you and your automobile, your four-wheel wonder, your pick-em-up trucks, and they can serve you. You're going to love them. I'm telling you, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poleline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. The best. Next hour, you don't want to miss at 9:06. We are going to have, again, former CIA operative Brian Fairchild on the air, and he is going to flat bring us up to speed as to this administration and their willingness to adopt and have in their administration members of the Muslim Brotherhood. And we're going to be having that with him coming up in about 6 minutes. Don't go away. Zeb at the Ranch. I'll be right back. Oh, good morning. Welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch on a Monday. Everybody yawn and stretch and say, good morning, good morning. Zeb at the Ranch, and we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends with Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always the Georgia Soul. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Along with taking care of your garbage, don't forget Western Waste Services. They have the portable storage units at Western Waste. And by golly, I'll tell you what, don't forget all the dumpsters in various sizes. They can serve all your waste needs. Give them a call, always at your disposal. Call 734-6969, Western Waste Services. Every Thursday on our program at 9:12 on Thursdays, we have a segment called Vicky's Country Garden and Gardening for Idiots, named after me. Oh, gardening is in full swing right now, and Vicky's Country Garden is ready for all the things you need for your garden or landscaping needs. Stop in at 185 South, 600 West of Paul. That's, of course, our dear friend Vicky at Vicky's Country Garden, serving you on the Burley-Paul Highway. Also, I want to remind everybody about Handsome Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with our dear friend Joel Heward, the owner-manager. You know, I am blessed to have them on the air. They've been such a big supporter of the various projects that we have on this program, and I certainly appreciate them. And I really heartily suggest that you call them about pre-planning of funerals to help alleviate a lot of the stress and worry for your family. Call them today at 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Handsome Mortuary in Rupert, serving you. Ladies and gentlemen, right now we're going to go to the phone lines, and I'm very, very blessed to have with us a dear friend, and I mean that, Brian Fairchild, former CIA operative, and we're extremely happy to have him on the air with all of his knowledge. Good morning, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing well, Zeb. How you doing, brother? I'm sorry that you're down there in your sweltering studio. I've been listening to the program, and It sounds like you're going to do some tough stuff there.
Well, I tell you what, Brian, I appreciate that. We've got a little bit of a VoIP signal on the phone, and I'm going to ask you again. I don't know if you can hold it real still or what, but in regards to your latest Blind Eagle writing with excellent reporting as to what's going on, what about Islamics in this country and then also the Muslim Brotherhood? I have been very, very outspoken, I guess I could say, about this Obama administration and the letting of Muslim Brotherhood into this administration for various positions. Why? Why are they doing this without really a close scrutiny as to who these people are?
Well, it's again all these questions, all these questions that you ask me, Zeb, are these multi-dimensional questions. But let me give the best answer that I can. And if you're not hearing me well, please let me know, and I'll try to adjust where the phone is.
I tell you what, Brian, Brian, let me interrupt you right there. I apologize. Let me interrupt you real quick. Because of the importance of your call and the importance of your knowledge, if there is a better number or a landline phone to call, I could have you maybe call our Watts number, 866-927-4587, because it is breaking up, and I don't want to miss a minute of what you have to say. Is that possible?
Okay, I can call 866, what's the number again?
866-927-4587. And if you could call right away, Gene will take the call and get you on the air.
Okay, I'll call that number.
All right, thank you. Phone problems are rampant, more so today than what they have been in the past, I think. And we apologize for that, but Brian is a nice guy, and he'll help us get this solved. I want to remind you, too, that Oakley Pioneer Days is in effect, and don't forget, all the action starts tomorrow night with the four-cylinder car race, the 6th annual Bump and Rub on Tuesday and Wednesday night. Then Thursday night, a big Gymkhana. Friday and Saturday night, the big rodeo. Saturday, of course, the big Pioneer Day parade. All kinds of fun things. Chuck Wagon breakfast, volleyball, and basketball tournaments. All of this going on at Oakley Pioneer Days up in Oakley. Don't miss a minute of it under the banner of their new theme this year, A Flood of Blessings. Don't miss it. And by the way, real quick, I want to mention some of those sponsors. Smith's Cafe at 135 East Main Street in Oakley. Open Monday through Saturday, 6:30 in the morning to 1 p.m. in the afternoon, Sundays until 11 a.m. Oh, my goodness, onion rings to die for, and their own great big delicious 1/3 pound hamburger. You're going to love it. Really nice folks at Smith's Cafe in Oakley, along with our friends at Oakley Valley Stone, 204 West Main Street in Oakley, wishing the folks in Oakley a happy 127-year anniversary. If you're looking for stone for a new fireplace, headstone for a loved one, landscaping boulders, look no further than Oakley Valley Stone, 204 West Main Street in Oakley. Let's check with Gina and see if we've got Brian back on the air.
We do. Just know that he's on a cell phone and he's in Montana, so the connection is going to be sketchy regardless.
Okay, Gina, thank you so much. Brian, again, we reiterate that you are an extremely important person to this program with your knowledge and what's going on in this administration and previous administrations, the way the world is shaping up to be one big tinderbox. I am not a fan of the Muslim Brotherhood, and it seems like this administration kind of caters to them. That's where we left it a few minutes ago.
Yes, and you're definitely right. I mean, the administration does cater to them. As a matter of fact, in 2010, President Obama ordered what's known as a Presidential Study Directive. It was PSD, Presidential Study Directive 11. And in that study directive, he had his national security folks do an assessment of the Muslim Brotherhood. And really what he wanted them to do is, hey guys, give me a reason that I can deal with the Muslim Brotherhood over our traditional allies in the Middle East, like Egypt and Tunisia and Libya and places like that. So they did this study, and he incorporated the study, and from that point on, he basically had a secret policy of dealing with the Muslim Brotherhood in the Middle East, which is why Egypt went Muslim Brotherhood, and he threw Hosni Mubarak, who had been our ally for 30 years, under the bus, and pushed and helped the Mohamed Morsi government. Well, if you remember, that was a total unmitigated disaster. Morsi only lasted for a year. By the fifth month in power, Morsi had decreed to himself more autocratic power than Mubarak had ever done before. He basically, decreed to himself that the Egyptian courts could not touch him. He could do anything. Nobody could touch him while he was creating the first Islamist constitution for Egypt. He did so. He had constant problems with the people and protests during his year in office, and by about the first anniversary, 14 million Egyptians took to the street and said, "Get out. We don't want you. You're trying to change this country into an Iranian-style theocracy." So the military stepped in at that time. So yes, that's the Muslim Brotherhood. But the problem is that we have a large American Muslim Brotherhood contingent here in the United States, Ed.
Well, it is, but now let me back up a little bit, a couple of years, and I want to ask you this question. Our own Congressman, Mike Simpson from Idaho, chastised Michelle Bachmann from Minnesota when Michelle questioned Hillary Clinton hiring some of the Muslim Brotherhood to work with her campaign staff, and Mike Simpson instigated a letter to condemn Michelle Bachmann as being a McCarthyist. Quite frankly, I think she was being a true American hero. What are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we have to remember that let's look at who supports the Muslim Brotherhood. Who do we know? Here's the way to look at it. What bad guys do we know think the Muslim Brotherhood is a good deal? Well, you've got a guy by the name of Ayman al-Zawahiri, who just happens to be the head of Al-Qaeda. Ayman al-Zawahiri himself is an Egyptian, and he said that a very key Muslim brother ideologue, a man by the name of Sayyid Qutb, was the man, and I can quote this because I've said it so many times, the man who sparked the Islamic Revolution. So this Muslim Brotherhood, ideologue, Sayyid Qutb, who hated America, was the man who ignited the spark of the Islamic Revolution. So Zawahiri, talks about Qutb in his book that came out in 2001. Knights Under the Prophet's Banner is the name of the book. And he says, this Qutb guy, this Muslim Brotherhood guy, was the guy that inspired him to create his first jihad cell. So the Qutbists in the Muslim Brotherhood are the guys that Al-Qaeda really likes. Just so happens that when President Obama decided to deal with the Muslim Brotherhood, all the leadership in Egypt were Qutbists. So they were all, following this ideology that Ayman al-Zawahiri, the head of Al-Qaeda, says is the way to go. And after the Muslim Brotherhood fell in Egypt, Zawahiri has defended the Brotherhood a minimum of 4 times on videos, and basically saying the Americans were responsible for the collapse of the Brotherhood, so go kill and kidnap Americans. So to me, if you've got Al-Qaeda supporting these guys, that is a clue. That is something you should follow up on. Apparently, the administration didn't want to hear that sort of thing and decided that the Muslim Brotherhood would be the vehicle that would bring the Middle East into peace and prosperity. How, they never explained. And given these facts, I think it'd be kind of hard for them to explain that.
Well, you had written one paragraph that, for some reason, it just reached out and got me more than anything else in this last newsletter. And I'm going to read it in its entirety, and then I want you to respond to it, Brian. You said the real answer, however, is that President Obama and his national security staff rejected the very premise that there was a connection between Islam and Islamist terrorism, and actually recently decreed the subject taboo for American security agencies. And the reason behind this ban was revealed in recently declassified State Department documents that reveal that the president and his team created a secret policy to support the Islamist Muslim Brotherhood at the expense of our traditional allies in the region. Wait a minute, Brian, I guess the bottom line question is, people convinced that Obama is a Muslim, people are convinced that he's a proponent of Islamic moves. This kind of proves it, doesn't it?
Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say the guy is a Muslim. I mean, he may be a Muslim, he may not be a Muslim. I don't know. I'm not convinced of it. But I am convinced that he is a man who, his only experience has been in movements, right? The civil rights movement, the anti-apartheid movement. He's a movement sort of a guy, and he's a civil rights sort of a guy. And in his mind, I can see where he would look at the Muslim Brotherhood and say, "Oh, those poor guys, you know, they've been held down for so long by all these Muslim governments because they were not." But he wouldn't see it because they were bad guys. I see it because they were bad guys and they were subversive. They were trying to take over all those governments, try to establish an Islamist regime instead in the caliphate. But you know, Obama looked out there and said, "Geez, you know, I got to make my mark on the world. I'm different than George Bush and those Republicans, so I think what I'll do is I'll reach out and grab these Muslim brothers and dust them off and support them, and they'll bring peace and prosperity into the Middle East." That's the only thing I can think of. I don't know if he's a Muslim or not, but he's certainly not a foreign policy expert, that's for sure.
Later on in your story that was absolutely well written, I commend you for that, you made this following opening on a paragraph. It says, "In creating this policy, the president willfully ignored the Brotherhood's stated objective, which is to create an Islamic state ruled by Sharia law." Now, my question is, and my fear, quite frankly, Brian, we're hearing so much in this country about the possible indoctrination and usage of Sharia law in our court system. Little by little, inch by inch, they're creeping into our court system and our society. How concerned are you?
Well, I am concerned, and in fact, the next article, the article that I'm writing right now, which I will put up on the website here maybe later on tonight or tomorrow, is about that. It's about the American Muslim Brotherhood. It's about the ideology that we are not allowed to study anymore. See, back in April 2012, or even before that, Deb, I mean, when the president came to power, he already had this in mind. He already had this concept of going to the Muslim Brotherhood in mind. So shortly after coming to power, he went off to Cairo, Egypt, to make a speech. And in that speech, that was the first time I think he referred to the Salafi jihadi, you know, bad guys that make up Al-Qaeda as simply violent extremists. Well, they're not just simply violent extremists. They hearken from two very clear components: a Salafi or religious orientation, Islamic religious orientation, and an Islamist political background. The Islamism is the ideology of this guy I just mentioned a minute ago, Sayyid Qutb from the Muslim Brotherhood, and the Salafi religious orientation is, you know, one of the oldest strains of Islam. And they believe that there are only two authorities in Islam: the Holy Quran and the words and actions of the Prophet Muhammad. So they're what we would call fundamentalists. They're the guys who literally look at the Quran, read it literally word for word, and say, "Hey, it says it in the Quran. We've got to do it in real life." So those are the guys that we're dealing with. But what Obama has done is he said, no, there's no such thing as a connection between Islam and Islamic or Islamist terrorism. They're only violent extremists. Well, that doesn't leave you anywhere to go if you're a counter-terrorist.
All right.
Now, take for instance, if you can say that these guys are Salafi jihadis, well, that gives you some place to go. You can say, well, where is Salafism practiced in my town? Is there a mosque that is a Salafist mosque? Is there a organization that is a Salafist organization? Are there proselytizers that are Salafists that run around trying to convert other folks? And is there an organization that teaches the Islamist ideology of the Muslim Brotherhood? And are they the same? And if they're the same, then there's my target. That's somebody I can look at. But if you tell a counterterrorism guy, hey, go after a violent extremist, well, where does that lead you? Where do you go? I mean, you don't go to an organization of violent extremists. They don't have card-carrying members of, United Violent Extremists, so where do you go? You just basically have to wait until either somebody gives you a tip and says, this guy has a gun in his hand and he's walking down the street, or you have to wait until they attack and kill you, and then in the investigation you can establish the fact that they were violent and they were extreme. And so that's a major problem for the United States, is that the administration has said, religion has nothing to do with terrorism, and just because these guys call themselves Salafi jihadis, they've just established the first Muslim caliphate, in Iraq, that the Caliph has asked all Muslims to support him. That has nothing to do with this stuff. They're just violent extremists.
Brian, I'm almost out of time this morning, but I've got about 4 minutes left, and I want you to respond to this if you would. I don't think the other networks are doing this problem justice. I think ABC, CBS, and NBC are doing a very poor job reporting on the ISIS and the dangers that are happening over there to establish an Islamic country, if you will, with Islamic rule and Sharia law. How close are they, possibly in your opinion and speculation, to getting or receiving nuclear material where maybe they could hold that region hostage?
Well, as far as nuclear material that is, sufficient to create a nuclear weapon, they're still quite a ways away, although there's always a possibility they could buy a weapon from Pakistan or others. But as far as having actual nuclear material in their hands, that's an already done deal. They went to the Mosul University last week, and they got 88 pounds of enriched uranium. Now, it's not the level that you need to create a bomb, and the mechanics, having the ability to make a bomb is really kind of sophisticated, and you have to have quite the scientific laboratory, which they don't have, I don't believe. But to use that radioactive material, to pack it around normal explosives, and to blow it up in the middle of the city, spreads that radiation throughout the city, and then that increases the likelihood of cancer by X degree, whatever that degree is, depending on how active that radiation was. And it can deny the whole area to you. I mean, people won't want to go to work. For instance, if you detonated a dirty bomb on Wall Street, and you told Americans, well, look, I mean, there's no problems with the structure, it didn't blow up the buildings or anything, but if you go back to work, you have a 50 times greater chance of getting some kind of cancer. Will people go back to work at Wall Street? Well, probably not. So that is that's a weapon of, basically not mass destruction, but, a weapon that, can keep people from mass areas. So, I mean, you can do a lot of damage with a dirty bomb, but it's not a nuclear bomb. So, I hope that answers that question. It's not, they don't have the nuclear capability, but they do in their hands right now have 88 pounds of uranium that they could use as a dirty bomb.
Next week, I'd like to have you back on the program, Brian, with your vast knowledge and expertise on this subject, far superior to most anybody else. I'd like to have you back on the air, and I would like to discuss the safety of America right now with our extremely porous borders. We don't know who's coming across. We don't know what purpose. We don't know what's going on at some of these terrorist camps in upstate New York, Texas, Oregon, etc. And I'd kind of like you, if you would, to do a report on that for us, if you would.
Sure, it'd be my pleasure, Ted.
Well, God bless you. Thank you so much, Brian Fairchild. And, Brian, first of all, I want to have you give ample time for a plug. What about the book and anything else that people can follow you and your writings? Go ahead, tell my audience.
Well, I would invite them all to come to the website, which is www.blindeagle.info, as in information.info. That's where most of my writings are going. I think, as you and I talked a little while ago, I made an offer. A publisher made an offer to me on the book. I accepted the offer, and I haven't heard back from them.
Oh my!
So I don't think the book is going to go. And I think personally, what's happening is that I'm kind of an unknown guy as far as the publishing world is concerned, and I think that they decided that, wow, this kid's got a real good book, but he's not the one to do it. We'll give it to somebody who can do it, who has a bigger name. That's what I think is happening from the book. So if you and your listeners see a book come out at some point in the not-too-distant future, and that book is about CIA not being a strategic intelligence agency anymore, but having turned into a tactical paramilitary organization, you'll know you heard it here first.
Absolutely. Brian Fairchild, I'll be giving you a call after the program. We'll discuss next week. Thank you so much. God's blessings, and we appreciate you being on the program. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Great guest right there, Brian Fairchild, and he has lived the life of being a CIA operative. Don't forget Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for their blue door, and their slogan is, where your home design needs are aisles apart, not miles apart. They can meet or beat any price on flooring, and free in-house consultation. Kyle and Whitney Cheney of Declo have got this new business, and it is a home run. Absolutely. Give them a call, 678-6945, 678-6945. Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Look for their blue door at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Real quick also, don't forget, they've gone to now 6 days a week. Let's Ride, Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley, open Monday through Saturdays from 9 to 6, and they're serving you. And the 2015 models are coming in now. Dirt bikes, Can-Am, side-by-sides, rebates on some of the 2014 models. And, oh, by the way, they've got all their generators on sale, too, for all your camping needs. You be sure and stop in. And, boy, I'll tell you what, for home security and in case something happens in the future, you want to be sure and keep your house cool and have power. So check out these generators at Let's Ride, Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley, where the fun is sold. Wonderful people to work with. All right, let's go to the phone lines right now, and we're going to say good morning to Carrie Kupak. Good morning, Carrie. How are you with Alliance Defending Freedom?
What's the message? No answer.
No, not again. Don't tell me that, Deanne. Can you try to get a hold of Carrie and find out where she is? And, I don't know what to tell you. I gave you the number, and, of course, that's the only number I have, and so evidently she is gone. But if you could keep trying, I certainly would appreciate it. How about somebody giving me a call? We'll talk about anything you want to for this half hour up until the point of when we do get a hold of Carrie Kupak with Alliance Defending Freedom. Give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And I'm going to ask Gina if she could possibly, or Jerry, turn up the feed line to me just a little bit. I don't know if it got lowered over the weekend or something got bumped. But
oh, no, nobody touches it.
Well, just maybe turn it up just a little bit. But for some reason, it's fluctuated, and I'm having a hard time hearing you and others. And I don't want to miss a minute of your beautiful tones of your voice, so I just thought I'd ask you that. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, Brian Fairchild, that was on just a few moments ago, it was really kind of interesting because we had a relationship over the phone to the point where he was telling us about having to go and serve in Afghanistan about a year and a half ago. And then all of a sudden he told Deanne and I, this will be the last transmission from this particular site where I'm at, and I'll be gone out of country into Afghanistan. And we never heard from him, not once, even though we tried to respond to him with an email, etc. Never heard a word until he got back to the United States here just about 2 months ago. And very, very interesting man, a former CIA operative. And if you want want to know about security and where we are or where we are not, we're going to try to keep Brian on a weekly basis, and we're also going to try to help him find a publisher for that book. It's an outstanding thought that he has for his book, and I just really want to see everything I can do to help him. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the landline, and I would love to hear from you. Political correctness is running amok, and now the San Francisco Giants baseball team is considering having some kind of a dress code, not for the players, not for any of the management, but for you, the fans. They're going to try to tell you what you can or can't wear to the baseball field.
Got Terry on the phone for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Gina. I appreciate it very much. Ladies and gentlemen, a young lady that I always look forward to having on the air with the Alliance Defending Freedom, and that's Carrie Kupek. Good morning, Carrie. How are you?
Good morning, Zab. How are you doing this morning?
I was afraid for a few moments that we weren't going to be able to have you on the program, so thank you. I'm glad you took our call.
I was afraid too, so I'm glad to be here.
All right. Now, Carrie, we've got, and I love this, the way you take care of this kind of a potpourri of various problems that are going on around the country. I understand there is a Florida health center that is denying a nursing job to a woman that is pro-life. Tell us a little bit about the background on this story.
Sure. This is really, it's really kind of mind-boggling because, obviously we all believe that Americans should be free to live and work according to their beliefs, and certainly people going into the medical profession, of all things, should not be denied a job because they support life. I mean, that's really the reason people go into the medical profession in the first place, but unfortunately, that's what's going on here. And so, specifically, there's a woman named Sarah Vega, and she had applied for a job at a family health center, and the human resource director noticed on her application that she was a member of the American Association of Pro-Life Obstetricians and Gynecologists. Well, the woman, Sarah, confirmed that, yes, in fact, she was a member of this association, and her religious beliefs just prevent her from prescribing drugs that could potentially terminate life. And after that, the director actually informed Sarah in an email, and this is a direct quote from the email: "Due to the fact that you are a member of this association, we would be unable to move forward in the interviewing process." I mean, that's just astounding.
Well, now, this really is starting to bother me much more. I thought a lot of these cases would quell or stop a lot of these perpetual cases from coming up and possibly going to court. But now we're denying people access to a job, etc., and they have to follow in lockstep to a certain anti-life campaign. What's going to happen on this case? Are you going to prevail? What's currently taking place in the court system?
Yes, I think we're going to, because, federal and state law are very clear that being, being pro-abortion cannot be a prerequisite for abortion. For employment. And so, the bottom line is no one deserves to be discriminated against because they are pro-life. And, Title VII protects this. Federal Torts Claim Act protects this. And this is something that's pretty clear in the law, that you can't use someone's viewpoint on abortion as basically a litmus test for employment. So I feel encouraged and hopeful that this suit will be resolved well in favor of Sarah. And what we're doing here at Alliance Defending Freedom, we're just asking the health center to obey the law and not make this nurse's employment contingent upon giving up her respect for life, which you would think that a court would want to uphold and respect, especially, again, the extreme irony of the situation is that she is in a life-sustaining, life-giving profession in the first place. So I think the law is on our side on this, and we'll see what happens as we move forward.
Isn't this story and this case quite comparable to the other one that we have that you sent me about the Swedish midwife denied employment for being pro-life? Aren't they both hand in hand in the same problem area?
You know, they totally are. And what we're seeing, and as we've talked, you and I have talked before on your show, is that there's a real attack on freedom of conscience right now, not just here in the United States, but internationally. And it's disturbing. Because, I mean, all people should be free to live and work according to their beliefs without the government coming in and punishing them if they, you know, like you said, don't kind of step in line and serve as the government's messenger. And so in Sweden, we have something very similar going on. And we just filed a friend of the court brief on behalf of another woman who was actually denied employment at 3 different medical clinics because she will not assist with abortions. And again, international law to which Sweden is obligated to recognize, and they clearly affirm freedom of conscience. They make it clear that, you know, supporting abortion cannot be a requirement for employment. And but I have to tell you, again, just like I read to you the email on that last one, this is unbelievable to me. The head of the maternity ward actually left this woman who was applying for this job as midwife. They left her a message and said she was no longer welcome to work with them. And this is my favorite part. And I say favorite, obviously, like, sort of sarcastically. They actually questioned whether a person with such views actually can become a midwife. I mean, a person who does not want to perform abortion, they're actually, quote-unquote, questioning her ability to be a midwife. I mean, the irony is just astounding.
Let me ask you this question, Carrie, and I know this is a far-reaching question for an answer on percentages and also various countries around the world, but in general, is respect for life and pro-life, is it growing with the younger people around the world, or are we suffering with a lot of young people that just have lost respect for life and abortions are taking over? What is the general percentage and perception?
I'm so glad you asked me that, because I was actually going to bring that up. Actually, there's something very encouraging that's going on. In the younger generation, we see the younger generation being increasingly pro-life. And a large reason for that, in my opinion, is just the improvement of technology. I mean, it's very hard to argue with a sonogram that clearly shows an image, you know, these 3D images of what is very obviously a baby. And, you know, the ability to detect heartbeats sooner than we've ever had before. And so the younger generation is very sensitive to that. And we're actually seeing a lot of inroads made across, especially in our country, as far as the pro-life movement goes. And quite honestly, internationally as well. I was part of some international seminars last week, and I was encouraged by the fact that there seems to be this real growing support and understanding of supporting life at its very beginning. And, you know, it's interesting. I'm sure you saw this recently. Even Melinda Gates of the Bill and Gates Foundation, they said they would no longer support funding for international abortions.
Wonderful.
And that's quite interesting. And I just think that reflects the sign of the times, so to speak. So these cases, while they're very disturbing and upsetting, I don't think they're really reflective of the new generations that's coming up. But we still need to obviously fight and advocate for these people who are being denied employment simply for being pro-life.
Now, let's bring up to speed the story about the University of Michigan and the Young Americans for Liberty. What's this story all about?
Well, this is, again, the facts just seem on its face kind of silly almost as far as how crazy it is. But what happened was there was a group, Young Americans for Liberty, a student organization, obviously conservative, and the University of Michigan had denied them funds. And the funds would come out of the typical mandatory student activity fees that all student groups get. I mean, they're just sort of, if you're a recognized official student group on campus, you get fees, you get some kind of funding from the school. That's standard. Mm-hmm. But University of Michigan said, no, we're not giving you any money because you have political and religious events. Except the problem was the university provided funding for all kinds of other groups who did just exactly that. They had events on immigration, affirmative action, Islam. But this group, this conservative group, was denied funding. So Alliance Defending Freedom filed a lawsuit, and they actually were very happy. We just settled this last week, and University of Michigan is revising its policy because obviously it was clearly unconstitutional that it was picking and choosing who gets to speak and who doesn't. And they revised their policy, paid damages to the student organization, and paid us some attorney's fees as well. So we're very happy that they got their policy in line with the Constitution and that all groups are going to be able to given the ability to speak as they should.
Carrie, I would imagine, and this is just speculation on my part, but I would imagine that any time there's a knock on the door at a various university and the secretary says, "Excuse me, Mr. Brown, there's a representative here from the Alliance Defending Freedom," I would imagine that they're starting to break out in a cold sweat, are they not?
You know, I would hope that's the case. And the bottom line is this. Especially at universities, you know, I love college students. I love universities, and you know, colleges. And one of the reasons I love universities is just that these are the places that are supposed to be kind of the epitome of the free exchange of ideas. I mean, people go to college to be able to debate and engage in conversation, and I mean, these are the places where some of the greatest movements in history have been birthed because of the ability for students, for the freedom of students to be able to engage in this conversation. And so when universities have these policies that censor certain students and allow other students, or, you know, create these zones where, you know, you're limited basically to a piece of grass in the corner of the school where you can give out a flyer, I mean, it just flies in the face of what education is all about. So it is one of my favorite things that Alliance Defending Freedom does, because it really increases free speech and affirms these First Amendment rights for everybody, regardless of where you fall on the, you know, ideological spectrum.
Well, let me ask you on an update from last week when we were talking about free speech zones, and one of those free speech zones had encountered a problem up at Boise State University. What is an update? Are these college campuses and leaders, professors, and presidents, are they realizing they're stepping on the Constitution? What's the update status?
You know, I think so. I think, you know, we're still sort of in the same situation as we were last we spoke. But yeah, I think that the more people find out the facts about this case, the fact that this is a student group that affirms life, you know, that, you know, they have events that just sort of they explain what abortion does. They explain, and they do so in a way that, you know, is compelling. And the fact that the university tried to shut them down, or actually they tried to, you know, make them put these warning signs on their displays, when meanwhile the groups that supported abortion had to put no such signs at all. And then on top of it, and this isn't just with respect to this particular group, they had these, like you said, these zones where you could only hand out flyers on this. I think it was less than 1% of the campus where you were limited to hand out flyers about these things. And so I think the more people find out facts, and it's so obvious on its face that this is a direct attack on this pro-life student group, I think as far as the court of public opinion, that people are going to realize, all right, this is totally unfair. All students should be able to freely speak, not just one. And I'm confident and I'm hopeful that the university will consider changing its policy.
Absolutely. Carrie, with all the different cases that Alliance Defending Freedom is involved in, give us an update as to how my listeners can follow along the website, etc., for ADF.
Sure. They can just go to alliancedefendingfreedom.org, or if they want some more in-depth information about the cases themselves, if they want to take a look at legal documents, if they want to take a look at op-eds, they can go to adfmedia.org.
Absolutely. Carrie Kupek, and with Alliance Defending Freedom, you do a wonderful job, and I'm looking forward to having you back on the air. So thank you very, very much.
Well, God, we appreciate you very much, and thank you.
God bless. Have a great day. Nice lady right there, Carrie Kupek, and we'll have her back on the air, I believe, next week on the 9:30 segment. Thank you very much. Got to have the weather, and the weather is brought to you this hour by Sportsman's Warehouse, my favorite store to just go in and browse and make wish lists and give them to my wife and everything. Yes, sir, Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls. Oh, my, it's the great indoors for those who love the great outdoors. They've got everything in there. Quality gear that gives you the edge to perform well and enjoy the journey outside. Oh, my goodness, get in there today. Sportsman's Warehouse in Twin Falls with our good buddy Reese Woodmeyer, the manager. Right now, here is Michael Rogers with the weather.
Hey everybody, Michael Rogers from Exhibit Ranch. I'm going to serious here with the weather because it is summertime. The easy part is it's going to be sunny, you're going to hit 100. That's the easy part. So what's the hard part? So you got a red flag warning for your area. It's pretty dry there. Now, the number one thing that most folks do not adhere to is those watches and warnings. So let me explain this to you because I've seen this happen. It is so dry in the Magic Valley. You can, if you want to, take a match, throw it on the ground, and you can start a wildfire. That's how dry it is. That's why they put out these watches and warnings. And right now you have a red flag warning. Don't start a match, throw it on the ground, and start a wildfire. Be careful out there. This is going to be in effect all week long because of the warm temperatures. So, you'll cool off when you get to Sunday. You'll hit about 88, but right now you're going to hit triple digits today. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
All right. Thank you, Michael. Brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls. The great indoors for those who love the great outdoors. Absolutely. Hey, by the way, when you think about life insurance, don't forget, think Cameron and Siemens Insurance. When you think about health insurance, think Cameron and Siemens. The same with retirement planning, employee benefits. Think Dean Cameron, Todd Siemens, dedicated and responsive to your needs, and they can and will serve you. Don't put it on the back burner. Take care of it today. Call them at 436-4424. 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really, really good, folks. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Gina, by the way, you said you worked on the car all weekend. What were you doing on the car? I thought you had that thing fixed already.
Different vehicle. Actually, we took off the wrap off of the old PT Cruiser, which was the old Buzzmobile, the old Flash Hot 100 vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
So we took off the wrap on that because Kim is having it redone, so that's what we spent all day yesterday.
Oh, I see. You're kind of getting a double dip. I mean, you work as the station programmer, and now you're doing all the mechanic work for the Lee Family Broadcasting.
At least part of it, yeah. Tonight I have to wash it and detail it out and then just deliver it, and it's good to go.
Now, that's an interesting subject right there, what you just talked about, detailing a pickup or a car. Yeah. How many times have you gone into a place and supposedly they did a detail, a wash, and you go to get your vehicle when it's supposedly all done, and it's like somebody just took a little whisk broom and that was all they did for a detail on the inside of your...
That's not acceptable for me. Because I used to professionally detail way back in the day, so I do have my skills. And so when I go through and I detail out a car, I mean, I detail out a car. Windows, you wipe everything down, you polish it all up, you vacuum, you shampoo, you make sure that there's no cookie crumb left on the carpet. And just doing a vacuum and a basic wipe down is not a detail. That's just a spiff up.
Did you hear about did I tell you about that jackknife my wife gave me? Did I tell you about that?
No.
I meant to. 2 years ago, my wife at Christmas time went to Sportsman's Warehouse with Reese Widmeyer that I just talked about a moment ago, and she got me a fancy jackknife. You push a button, the blade pops out, and they're really handy with a serrated blade and everything for team roping in case something happens, you need to cut a rope or something in a hurry. Yeah. And I had that knife for about 60 days, and I lost it on the trip to Arizona. Remember 2 years ago when we went to Arizona for about 2 weeks?
I do remember that.
Anyway, we got out at Flagstaff, and I was watering my horse, and I thought I lost the knife there, and I felt so bad about losing that knife. It was the best knife I ever had in my life. I really appreciated it, and Deanna had given it to me for a Christmas present. Well, anyway, I personally searched the entire truck. I had other people search the entire truck. I had it when I took it in for a detail. I told them I'd lost the knife and maybe it had lost in the pickup. I said, go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, okay? Never found the knife. And it went for 1.5 years without the knife. The other night, I went in the pickup and I was driving, and I was admittedly eating while I was driving, and I dropped a French fry between the seats. I reached down between the seats to get the French fry, There's the knife. But Gina, everybody, including me, had gone through that thing for the fine-tooth comb. That knife honestly wasn't there, but it was the other night when I reached down on the floor.
It's kind of funny how vehicles can eat items and then you find them years and years later.
Where did it go?
It went between the seats.
No,
it went between the seats. And so if you're not specifically looking in that spot, a lot of people don't think to look there. They'll kind of like run their hands underneath the driver's seat, and then they'll kind of run their hands, behind the seat, in the crack and everything. But you have to dig really deep down there because not all seats have, where you can stick your hand and it goes all the way through to the floor. Some of them have a little catch area where there's a piece of fabric that ties the upper seat to the lower seat. And so things get caught in there, and that is a favorite hiding spot of crumbs and change.
Well, I'm embarrassed. I try to keep my truck as clean as I can, and on the outside and the inside. But I had at least 6 people tear that thing apart and look for that knife. I don't know if it had caught someplace in the middle and all of a sudden it jiggled loose or something. But there was that knife, brand spanking new, and it's in my pocket right now.
It was like Christmas all over again.
Yes, it was. Deja vu all over again. Oh, my. Anyway, right now I'm going to remind everybody the Lincoln County Fair and Rodeo. My goodness sakes, you don't want to miss a minute of it. This past weekend they had that great big truck and tractor pull for the big heavy muscle types. Well, coming up this week on the 19th, they've got the Ranch Rodeo. Now that's going to be a ripping good event, and they're going to have team branding and team doctoring and working ranch horse and also trailer loading, snubbed up bronc ride. No, there's going to be the Wild West the way it should be, right there at the Lincoln County Fair and Rodeo, and it's all going to be continuing this next weekend on the 19th, and then going all the way from the 21st through the 27th. Don't miss a minute of it. The Lincoln County Fair and Rodeo for 2014, a lot of fun. Also, I want to remind you about Lease Furniture, Floors, and More sidewalk sale. Living room sets, flooring is on special, great low prices on carpet, and they've got many mattresses on special low prices. You better get into Lease Furniture, Floors, and More today. I mean, last week they were on the air. They told us all about this. And I'll tell you what, all of this and more is going on at Lease Furniture and More at 459 Overland and Burley. Nice people that really know all about interior decorating and what's going to look good in your home. You stop in and see them today. Lease Furniture, Floors, and More at, of course, 459 Overland in Burley. Really good folks. Oh, my. It is a warm day outside, and I'm going to tell everybody, take your water bottles with you. No matter what you're going to do, take a water bottle and drink lots of fluids. Gina, I don't know if you're still there by your microphone, but do you take a water bottle and drink a lot of water during the day?
Yes, especially during the summertime because you are, when it's hot outside, it's going to be 103 to 105, depending on where you're at. Outside, you're going to be just drenched. So you, not only water, but honestly, if you want to put just a little bit of sugar and a little bit of salt in that water, it's going to help you, your body absorb it and retain it.
That's a good idea. I personally am not a water drinker, okay?
Really?
And the doctors in Salt Lake and other doctors around up here, they chewed on me and they said, look, buddy, after all that surgery on your leg and everything, you better start drinking more water. So now they've got me to where Deanne, no matter where I go, she's pushing water to me, whether it's here on the program or whether it's after I get off the air. And she's really pushing the water, especially in these hot days. So please drink plenty of water, folks. You're going to need it. Okay.
Either that or Pedialyte or a Gatorade is really good, too.
Gatorade's good, too, isn't it?
Yeah.
And besides that, it tastes better, I think.
It tastes better than water?
Yeah, sometimes water leaves you with a wanting for more. You know what I mean?
It really does. It doesn't quite quench the thirst, and you need something that's going to satiate you because water just doesn't do it. So Gatorade.
Absolutely. All right, I got a quick word here I got to pass along. Harris Plumbing NG for all your plumbing service needs. One call, that's all, 431-8633. Excellent service. They were here this morning. They they are the best. Reliable, responsible, professional. The job is done right, efficiently, and respectfully. I am impressed. Harris Plumbing NG, 431-8633. One call, that's all. They'll serve you. We'll be back after the news. Don't go away. Welcome back. Hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch on a Monday. Good morning, and welcome back. And we'd like to say thank you to our sponsors. Zeb at the Ranch sponsors with your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them 734-6969. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the Chadwick Sports Grill. What a great place to go eat at 139 West Main in Burley. Oh, what's the special for today? This is a home run. Sweet and sour chicken over rice with veggies and super salad for just $8.95. I love sweet and sour chicken over rice. You're going to love anything and everything on the menu at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. You stop in and see those good folks today at the Chadwick. Hey, before we get our guest on the phone, I want to remind you, too, about sugar beet growers. Listen, introducing Preaxor from BASF, the newest form of chemistry for sugar beets to fight disease and potentially increase yield and sugar content of your sugar beets. Preaxor contains headline and a new compound called xenium that also provides excellent control of powdery mildew. As I said, with the application of BASF's Preaxor, 45 to 60 days prior to harvest, you have the potential of higher yields and more sugar content in your sugar beets. Contact your local ag chemical supplier today, and for more information, also call BASF's Ron Ellis at 431-6776 or Tim Perry at 844-0682. BASF's Preaxor for your better sugar beets. Ladies and gentlemen, with me on the phone right now, a gentleman that I've never met. We just talked on the telephone last week for just a few moments. He is a gentleman that has served our country over in the Middle East, and we say a good morning and welcome to Sergeant Scott Colder. How are you, Scott?
I'm doing well, Mr. Bell. How are you?
I am fantastic, and I believe, and help me on some of this information, you are talking to me from the great state of Michigan. Is that right?
That is correct, sir.
All right. Now, what part of Michigan are you from, Scott?
Well, I'm just north of Grand Rapids.
Okay.
About middle of the state.
You know, I know Michigan very well. I was born and raised in Wisconsin, and we used to go up into the Upper Peninsula to Escanaba and Gladstone fishing during the summer on Lake Michigan, so I'm a big fan of Michigan. It's a great state.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the Upper Peninsula, or UP as we call it, it's beautiful up there if you like the outdoors. Not as picturesque, if you will, as Idaho from my recent visit out to your guys' great state, but it has its places, Picture Rock, and Munising, and all that up there. So
absolutely.
That's great.
Now, the reason I wanted to have Sergeant Scott Colder on our program this morning, first of all, I want to thank him for our service to this country. But Scott also was one of the persons that was selected to be a part of Idaho in Heroes. Scott, I'm going to let you carry most of the story and tell us about Idaho in Heroes and how you went on a hunting trip here in the great state of Idaho. Tell us all about that, please.
Well, it's a great organization. It allows disabled veterans to come out and kind of get back to having a normal life again. At least for the outdoorsmen that I was. When I came home. It was hard for me to transition. I was born to be a soldier, and public service and all that stuff. Love my country. And when I was medically retired. When I came home from overseas. And I actually got linked up with Idaho and Heroes through a gentleman named Bill Wood in Operation Injured Soldiers here in Michigan. And it was an essay contest on, well, what the outdoors does for you. And for me, you know, a combat veteran, soldier, and an outdoorsman, but hunting and fishing in the outdoors is my way of life.
Yes.
Through and through. I mean, it's the best therapy for me and others like me, I think you can get. You know, being close to nature and your great resources out in Idaho. And it's something that, you know, being from Michigan, we don't see elk unless you're, you know, up north even farther to see. I mean, the first time I ever heard elk bugle was out in Idaho, and that was something awesome, you know. And the people, just the people out in Idaho, everybody was so welcoming, and you know, the guys in Idaho and Heroes, at Idaho and Heroes, you know, Monty Barone, the guide, Brian Clark, Mark Yearsley, Derek Benson, all them guys, just so accommodating, you know. It was first class all the way, and it really kind of made me forget about the bad stuff, you know, and by bad stuff I mean just the nature of war and everything that I'd gone through, and you know, really had a great experience out there. Wish I could have stayed longer, but you know, it is what it is, and I was grateful for the experience. I talk about it all the time to my family and friends, and just you know, just the experience itself. I mean, yeah, I didn't get the bull elk or a cow elk or a deer or anything, but that's not what it was all about. It was about building a relationship with my guide, who is also a veteran, and to get wounded warriors, you know, disabled veterans out and experience just what you guys have to offer in Idaho. I mean, we actually even thought about moving out there, so it was just a great experience. I was only out there for 5 days, you know, and I was going to move my family out there. So
let me ask you, Scott, if I may, what about your service to our country? Now, I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, that you were in the United States Army. Is that correct, over in Afghanistan?
I was in the Army, and I was in Iraq.
I see.
For both tours.
I see. And if you don't mind the question, what was the extent of your injuries after you returned home from the Middle East?
I was blown up a few times, and I was kicking indoors and whatnot. You know, my unit, I was with 4th Brigade, 2nd Infantry Division, Stryker Brigade, out of Fort Lewis, Washington. And, you know, just a great group of guys. Very well trained. You know, we're the best and well-trained fighting forces in the world. You know, our leaders, they get us trained up and ready to go, and we go over there and do work and try to make it a better place. And you know, my experiences over there, it wasn't about you know, going over there and, you know, everybody's got the misconception that everybody goes over there and everybody, you know, it's constant war, you know, constant fighting and this and that and the other thing. But for me, yeah, that did happen. It wasn't constant. It was, it did happen, and there were things that happened and whatnot. But the extent of my injuries were I was blown up, hurt my legs and my hips and my back, and broke a couple teeth by getting hit in the side of the head with something. And then I come home with the PTSD, survivor's guilt, and the control part of PTSD. You really have no control of what happens to you over there.
Right.
Other than,
right. Now, Scott,
how you react to it, and we didn't have a whole lot of time to decompress and before we were sent right back over there. So I mean, for the first 3 or 4 years I was in the service, I mean, I was either right out of basic training, I went straight over, came home, met my wife, and then 6 months later we were accelerated and we went right back over, training up, and then we went right back over. So for me to come home and decompress and kind of get used to being a civilian was very, for lack of a better term, it was very strange for me, being in a hostile environment for that long, and then trying to come home and everybody expects you to be the same man or the same little kid that they knew you when you were growing up, and it just wasn't that.
Let me ask you a question right there, Scott, if I can interrupt you. I think you've touched on something that needs to be elaborated on. You have spent your time in hell, and you come home, and unfortunately there are those of us that we don't appreciate nor do we understand exactly the environment that you were in. And so you mentioned the word decompression. I think that's a good word, because you needed to basically fit back into your original lifestyle. And so I'm assuming that something like this trip to Idaho with the Idahoan heroes and the hunting and the great outdoors, that added a lot to maybe fitting back into society again, didn't it?
Oh yeah, Mr. Bell, it sounds weird, and it really will sound weird too. Somebody who's not used to being in the military and whatever, but yeah, the decompression part of it is huge. I mean, at least for me it was, because before then I was a college athlete. I come from I have a cousin that is in the Air Force, and he's down in Texas right now training new recruits and everything. And so coming from a non-military family, I mean, yeah, when you volunteer and you sign the dotted line to give up the ultimate price of your life to a cause and to a country that you solely believe in, and the values and the work ethic and everything like that, that comes along with it. I mean, to come home and to have that just decompression time, like you said, it was my first time. Gosh, I went out there, and I was out there for 3 days, and then on the third day, it took everything for me with my injuries to get to where we could hunt. And we stopped. We got up there early because the gentleman that was guiding me, Mr. Clark there, he knew that I was struggling because here in Michigan I think we're at like 900 feet above sea level, and so the air's pretty thick down here. But when you get up in the mountains, it's pretty thin. So I was huffing and puffing and trying to catch my breath while we just sat down and we talked. And I go to doctors and I talk to doctors, and the doctors do great work. but it's nothing like talking to another veteran that might have not gone through the same thing that you had, but understands kind of, just kind of understands what maybe you're going through.
Absolutely.
Just trying to be a civilian again, and that one moment on the mountain, on the side of that mountain, watch the sun come up, and Brian and I were talking, and kind of had a moment there where I wasn't living the right lifestyle, and gosh, I was doing things I probably shouldn't have been doing, not illegal stuff, but maybe coping with things a little bit differently, to be as vague as I can be, I guess, but with substance, like with alcohol or whatever, and then to have that moment with him on the side of the mountain, that I couldn't have with anybody else, I started tearing up. I about broke down. It was a moment that I had been waiting for 6 years. And it took 6 years, and that trip out there with Idaho and Heroes and Operation Ender Soldiers, that and everybody told me it would take time and whatever, and it's still every day is a struggle to deal with certain things, but that one moment where he said he said a bunch of stuff to me, but the one that sticks out the most is that I understand. You don't have to say too much more, but I understand.
Right.
And gosh, it really, like I said, I go to doctors and I talk to them about things that I've seen and gone through, and it really took that one moment, and I didn't have to see an elk or a deer or anything like that, but just being there with that one person on the side of that mountain in that great state, and all the people that had their hand involved with it, and just knowing that they did it for me to try and get me to be better or feel normal again. I think that's what, it just speaks volumes about that organization, Idaho and Heroes and Operation Ender Soldiers.
Let me ask you this, Scott.
And from that trip, and I stopped drinking. I became a born-again Christian. And my life has changed for the better because I read the Bible. I read I serve a day and go on from there. And I try to be a better father and a better husband and just a better overall person. And I did have that sort of, I don't know what you call it, epiphany or life-altering moment right there on the mountain, and I decided right then and there that I was done with alcohol, and I was done with just not being a soldier. I'll always be a soldier, but I was I'm gonna live life, and I was pretty closed in. I became a hermit. I didn't want to deal with anybody. I didn't like going out to restaurants. I didn't like going out to movies. And I still don't like doing those things, but I'm pushing myself every day to try and get to that point.
Well, now, here's the deal.
That moment was awesome. It was... I started crying, I'm not too proud to say that I literally had tears in my eyes as I was coming back down the mountain. I didn't want to leave,
Let me jump in here for a second, Scott, and tell you this, that your honesty, your candor, and your absolute great personality, you just sat here and talked to me about something that I think is going to help a lot of people. And I want to invite you back on the program in the future. We're going to have more conversations, I hope, if you'll allow me to call. But I want to invite you back to the state of Idaho. If there's any way we can get you here as a resident, that would be great. But I'd like to have you come back so I could have you on the program again.
It was so beautiful, sir. I just, and everybody there was so, I mean, they didn't know me from Adam, and they didn't have to bend over backwards, but, you know, they did. And everybody you saw there had a smile and was working out. I mean, I've never seen that many people run or, you know, alongside, you know, just on the trails and everything like that. Just being outdoors, you know, type people. And it's just amazing. And I'd like to thank the great state of Idaho and Idaho and Heroes and Monty Brown and Brian Clark and excuse me, everybody else who was involved in getting me out there. And you know, it really is the things that you guys do in Idaho for your veterans and for your disabled veterans, for your military, is a true testament on you guys as a population and as a people. You know, sometimes people can get caught up too much in their day-to-day stuff and not have a smile on their face. And that could affect somebody, you know, that you might not even know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
To me, it was awesome. We just went in the grocery store one day and to get groceries, and everybody was, you know, thanking you or welcoming you. You know, I was trying to get stuff for my family from Idaho because we'd never been there before, and they asked where I was from, and they said, well, welcome to Idaho. And it was just a cool and welcoming place, you know.
Well, Scott, I gotta jump in. I've got to interrupt you because I'm almost out of time, but I've got one final thought for you. Even though you're from Michigan, I do not like in any way, shape, or form the Detroit Lions football team because they might beat my Green Bay Packers. So be careful and don't get a better football team, okay?
Hey, we gotta make up for the 0-16 year. Okay, I'm a true blue Lions fan. I always have been, always will be, and we gotta beat you guys eventually. I mean, we haven't beaten you, and I think it's going on 10 years now.
Well, I hope it's going to end up being 11, my friend. But I'll be in touch with you and have you back on the program. God bless you for being on the show this morning.
Thank you for having me on, and thank you, Idaho, for being so welcoming.
Thank you so much. There is an example of a great American, an American soldier, and we're very, very glad to have him on the program. Sergeant Scott Colder from back in Michigan, and he came to Idaho with the Idahoan Heroes program to enjoy, and in his own words, just to decompress and become an American citizen again. Really glad to have him on the show. Brought tears to my eyes. Hey, don't forget, every Thursday we have school days in Cassia County, and I want to remind you that it's brought to you by A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley, and also Ambulatory Surgery Center on Highland Avenue in Burley. Don't forget A Child's World. Stock up now with all the summer clothes that are on sale, and don't forget they're having their sidewalk sale, which is going to begin this week on the 18th. All of this and more at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. And don't forget, there's a way to save medical costs and receive outstanding outpatient surgery care in a friendly, very caring place. And that, of course, the Ambulatory Surgery Center. For 14 years, the Ambulatory Surgery Center in Burley on Highland Drive has performed over 100 procedures every month. You call them at 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center and A Child's World, bringing you school days in Cassia County. We're going to send it back over to our main studios. We'll be right back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much. Welcome back. And, of course, this week is Fun Times in Oakley, Idaho with the Pioneer Days with the Flood of Blessings as their theme. And I believe with us on the radio right now we have Brady Manning. Hello, Brady. How are you?
Good. How are you, Zeb?
Holy smokes. The last time I saw you, you're about, 9'3" and could take a bath in a shotgun barrel. You really have grown up.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. Now, you're part of the Vigilantes that's going to be putting on the event this week, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I'm going to take it step by step, and I want to find out, are you going to be in the 6th annual Bump and Rub 4-cylinder car race?
I'm not this year, actually. I couldn't find a car, but I hear there's a lot of contestants this year, and it's going to be a good time.
Now, Brady, this thing is going to put NASCAR back 30 years. I understand it gets a little wild and western.
Yeah, it does. There's definitely some good car races, and there's a lot of guys out there that have souped their cars up to the maximum, and it is definitely a good time.
Now, tell us a little bit about the course itself. I mean, you don't all start at the same time, do you? Tell us about the race.
No, it's a two-car race, or at least 2 cars at a time, and they start in the arena, and it goes around the old horse track, and we've made a few obstacles. There's usually some muddy area, you have to go through and dodge a couple of tires and sharp turns, and then it ends right back into the arena in front of the crowd.
So is it a one-lap race, or do you go around more than once?
I'm pretty sure it's 2 or 3 laps.
Okay. Now, certainly with the people that are driving, there's no bad feelings or trying to run somebody off the track, is there?
Oh, there's always that camaraderie with the Oakley people, of course. There's quite a few that get a little too much into it, I think. That's what makes it a good time.
So it's going to be 2 nights this year, tomorrow night and Wednesday night. It really must be growing in popularity then.
It is. We've had a lot of cars in the past, and I know there's a lot of spectators, and that's what really gets it going, is a big crowd.
All right. Now, on Thursday night, I think that's an event that has really grown, and that's that Gymkhana. Sometimes you guys are there till, 3 o'clock in the morning some days, aren't you?
Yeah, it's getting bigger and bigger every year, which is great, I think. Get more kids involved. It's really a good rodeo.
Now, when it comes to Friday and Saturday night, you're going to have the IMPRA rodeo there. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, they have a normal IMPRA rodeo with all your normal events. We have the stock saddle bronc riding as an extra event, and it's always a good rodeo.
Now, is there going to be a dance again this year?
Yep, Saturday night, right after the performance. I'm pretty sure it's Saturday night, right after the fireworks, down into the park, and I think it goes till about midnight or 1. It's usually packed full of people.
All right. Now, also this year, Brady, I understand on Friday, the 18th, and Saturday, you're going to have a basketball tournament, 3-on-3 basketball tournament, and then also, in addition, I understand you're going to have a volleyball tournament, too. Is that right?
Yeah, I think the volleyball tournament is Friday morning. I'm not sure where, but then the basketball tournament goes on Friday and Saturday.
All right. Now, always you have an excellent chuck wagon breakfast. Now, where is that going to be, and who's the sponsor?
That's going to be at the park. I'm not quite certain what the sponsor is on that. I'm sorry.
Okay. I think it's the Oakley Booster Club putting on the Chuck Wagon Breakfast. But, boy, that's something. And the proceeds probably go help all the different sporting events right through the school, don't they?
Yep.
All right. Now, you're going to probably, I heard a rumor that you're going to be wearing your cowboy boots and spurs and you're going to run in the Goose Creek runoff. Is that right?
Negative. I've never been a runner, but it is huge. It is very big. Saturday morning it starts.
Okay. Now, there's Pioneer Day programs, and you've got special speakers. And what about the parade? Everybody's called me. I've had a lot of calls about the starting time of the Pioneer Day parade up in Oakley.
I think it starts at 4, if I'm not mistaken. I'd get there extra early because I know every year it's packed to find a place to sit, and it's always really, really hot. So bring your umbrella and a lot of water, and it usually is a good time.
All right, well, there's so many other activities and everything going on, but this is quite an event, and it's been over 100 years. What is it, 127 years or something like that you've celebrated up there in Oakley?
I think so, yeah.
And what's your specific job? What's your duties going to be this week?
I'm kind of a filler type of guy. I just kind of do whatever needs to be done for the vigilantes, but
well, I hope the weather's good. I hope it's not too hot. And I want to tell you how much I appreciate you coming on the program this morning. I haven't talked to you since last year. I think I ran into you in Burley, and I never even recognized you. Holy smokes, it's good to hear from you again.
Yeah, it's good to be on the show.
All right. Brady Manning, God bless you, and we'll send everybody up to Oakley for Pioneer Days this week with the theme of Flood of Blessings. Thanks for coming on the program this morning.
Thank you, Zeb.
All right, buddy. Take care. I have known that young man for years and years and years, and what a nice guy. Brady Manning. It's just really nice to have him on the program, and it's going to be a lot of fun up in Oakley this week for Pioneer Days, a flood of blessings. So everybody try to get up there and enjoy. Okay, we got to pay some bills here in a minute, and I tell you what we're going to do, maybe if Gina doesn't mind, we're going to welcome phone calls for the reminder for the remainder of the program, and also we'll do the weather forecast a little bit early, and the weather is brought to you by our friends at Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, where they're selling taste one bite at a time. Don't forget, locally owned custom meat processor for over 20 years, and they've got that delicious marinated tri-tip for any occasion. Call them, you're going to love it. 324-7657. Right now, here's Michael Rogers with the weather.
Hey everybody, Michael Rogers from Zip the Ranch. I'm going to serious here with the weather because it is summertime. The easy part is it's going to be sunny, you're going to hit 100. That's the easy part. So what's the hard part? So you got a red flag warning for your area. It's pretty dry there. Now, the number one thing that most folks do not adhere to is those watches and warnings. So let me explain this to you because I've seen this happen. It is so dry in the Magic Valley. You can, if you want to, take a match, throw it on the ground, and you can start a wildfire. That's how dry it is. That's why they put out these watches and warnings. And right now you have a red flag warning. Don't start a match, throw it on the ground, and start a wildfire. Be careful out there. This is going to be in effect all week long because of the warm temperatures. So, you'll cool off when you get to Sunday. You'll hit about 88, but right now you're going to hit triple digits today. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you very much. MichaelRogersWeather.com, brought to you by Scarrows Meats this hour, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657, as they're selling taste one bite at a time. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning again, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
That soldier you had on, where did they come to Idaho to hunt?
I think they were up in the Chalice area, and, it was up in the Chalice area, yes.
Delaware, up and through there.
Yes.
I know the country well, and I wish that more people would do more stuff for them guys that come back like they're all messed up and that. That'd be the best thing in the world, because I know all this country up there. And there's one way to go up there and sit on a mountain peak or on a trail or something and just sit there and listen to the wildlife and the birds and the calm. And you just feel so much better off in this world.
Well, Al, I'll tell you what, my thanks go out to people like Monty Bloom that was very instrumental in helping start this up and get these soldiers in here. But you could tell by the tone of his voice and the wavering of his voice and how sincere he was and how appreciative this young man was that it basically turned his life around.
Yeah, I knew I probably would do a good job of it, but, you know, it just makes me so damn mad when Hagel and them guys are giving pink slips to our soldiers and our officers over there now doing their duty, saying, okay, you come on home. Mr. Hagel, if you're going to pull them out, if you don't want to bring the equipment home, destroy it like we used to do. Quit this crap letting everybody get a hold of our equipment.
What did you think? Well, I got you on the air quickly. I'd like your opinion on this. Over the weekend, I was watching the absolute disdain that military people have had for what Obama and his administration are doing to make severe cutbacks, give pink slips to people, put it in the freezer until I'm off the air, please, and basically denigrate our military. What are your thoughts about that?
I'm damn disgusted. He wasn't worth a hoot when he was in the Congress, and he's worse now than he ever was. I thought McNamara was the lowest you could get, but this guy, he's lower than a snake's belly, as far as I'm concerned. He's a disgrace to that office.
Well, I can't argue with you. I'm questioning, Al, why at this time, when we're seeing a increase and uprising in all of our enemies, especially with the ISIS over in Syria and Iraq, and what's happening in the Middle East, and the threats against Israel, and the threats against us, why are they thinking right now with any common sense at all of cutting the military?
I don't know, because right there, another thing. They always say Israel, 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 knock it off. Well, who in the hell's getting bombed all the time with them rockets coming out of the Gaza Strip?
Absolutely.
Israel get pumped on. I say here, start kicking hind end and let's get over with it.
No, I couldn't agree more, and thank you so much for your call. And I really did enjoy having Sergeant Scott Calder from Michigan on our program, and it would be a real treat to have him come back, not only to go hunting here again, but possibly to get him in the studio live in person. That would be really a great treat.
Get him up there around Nap Lakes, up and through there.
Yes, sir.
He'd really love it up there.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to have your calls. Give me a jingle right now. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, I'd like to also remind you about the Lincoln County Ranch Rodeo. That is coming up this week, as a matter of fact, and it's going to be on Saturday night. They're going to have a ripping good time. Lincoln County Fair and Rodeo, they've got a complete schedule of events, and that big ranch rodeo is going to be coming up on Saturday night starting at 7 p.m. up there in Shoshone. They're going to have team branding, team doctoring, working ranch horse, trailer loading, snubbed up bronc riding. I'll tell you, they've got a fun time planned. And then the following Monday on the 21st, the whole thing starts, the Lincoln County Fair and Rodeo, and they've got events up there, horse pulling, and they've got an IMPRA rodeo, they've got antique tractor pulls, they've got everything for your enjoyment at the 2014 Lincoln County Fair and Rodeo. Don't you miss it. All right, calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Gina, are you right there by your telephone and your microphone? Not your telephone, but your microphone.
Actually, I'm very, very close to both.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know, but try the microphone instead. That was a faux pas on my part. That gentleman that I had on the program, Sergeant Calder, boy, the sincerity in his voice, it almost sounded like coming here to that trip for Idaho and Heroes that basically, in some respects, saved his life.
Yeah, honestly, you could hear the emotion, you could hear the gratitude in his voice. Apparently, he'd never been to the great state of Idaho. He is from, what was it, Michigan?
Michigan, yes.
And he'd never been here to Idaho, and so apparently it was kind of an epiphany trip for him, is what I would have called it.
I had a chance to visit with him last week a little bit before coming on the air.
Do you know how old he is?
I believe
I'd say mid-20s to mid-30s.
No, I think he mentioned to me he was 31. I could be wrong on that.
Okay.
But the thing that really stuck out in my mind's eye when I first talked to him is his politeness. It was yes sir, no sir. He was extremely grateful for what he had as a trip out here. And then you could detect a waver in his voice when he started talking about his past lifestyle and about how he was so glad that he came out because it changed his life. And he was very honest with me and said that it brought him and his family so so much closer together and everything. And I was just really proud to act as, I hate to use this word, kind of an enabler to get him on the air and discuss it. He said because that was the best therapy he's had in a long time.
Well, sometimes you need that therapy, and you could just hear how, when he started talking about it, all of those emotions just came right up to the surface.
Yeah.
And they were right there for him. It was like he was reliving that moment and, just expressing that gratitude. I've been, in those types of moments before, and you can just, wow, it was palatable. And, I'm glad that he had that opportunity to come here to experience what he did, to better his life, and to not only, kind of heal himself, but bring himself, closer with his family, because it sounded like they were starting to, he was just
kind of unravel.
Yeah, it was. And so, it was, it brought him closer, and I think it brought him back down to earth.
You know something, when you think about it, and this is not even something as a subject we were going to talk about, but I'm just throwing this out here. Isn't it great that people still today, with a terrible economy, terrible leadership in this country and everything, there are groups of people and singular folks that want to do something nice to help somebody else?
Absolutely, and you know what? It is one of the reasons why I love living, number one, in the state of Idaho and living in this community, because everybody does come together. Everybody is willing to help everybody out. You have those individuals who will anonymously just donate to things, saying, I don't want any of the kudos, just here you go, because it makes my heart feel good to help you out. And so we are blessed because we have a lot of those people living right here in the Magic Valley.
Well, not only that, but it just seems like there's a lot of good people still left in this world that want to sit back and do something nice for somebody.
Yeah.
And you don't know this, but I had something happen to me on Saturday night, and I'm probably going to start bubbling up and crying like a little baby boob here, but I'll tell you what, I can't help it. Just prior to the Saturday evening performance at the Silver State Stampede, one of the committee people came up and took the microphone and started going on about some topic, and then all of a sudden turned it to me, and the conversation was about me, and the committee gave me a beautiful set of custom silver-made spurs that absolutely, they had the name engraved, and they had Silver State Stampede engraved, and it just left me speechless. They are absolutely beautiful.
How many years have you been doing that rodeo?
I was trying to remember that. It's crazy that you would ask that, because that's one of the things they asked me. I think I've been doing it at least 15 years. But they had these custom-made spurs made for the Silver State Stampede with my name on them and everything. And I had no clue. Because, see, what they do down there is they have to all the event champions, they give a pair of famous Garcia spurs to all the event champions. And when they stopped the rodeo just prior to actually it starting, and they gave me that award of those spurs, I mean, it put this old fat boy's lip right there on the floor. I just absolutely couldn't believe it.
Set you back just a little bit and kind of humbled you down, didn't it?
Really, I'm telling you, and that's why I say there's so many nice people.
Yeah. Well, there's just so many, it's those feel-good, heartwarming moments, no matter how they come along, that I think instills in me and just kind of reminds me that there are good people out there. Not everybody is bad. Not everybody is out to get you. Even though the government seems like they're out to get everybody, they don't care. They're indiscriminate about who they're going to harass. But, there are still good-hearted people.
What you just said, it needs to be elaborated on. Because if you let people, just common sense, good people, run things and take care of things and keep the doggone government out of things, our world would be one heck of a lot better place.
And I'm hoping and praying that we can get to that place again, considering our economy and considering how bad our government is being run right now by a complete bunch of idiots. I'm hoping that, everybody's starting to wake up, and they're realizing that we need those common sense people. We need the regular, everyday folk running our government, because they are so in touch with what we're going through. And the people in Washington, D.C., I'm sorry, they need to fall off the face of the planet.
Well, I tell you what, I couldn't agree with you more. And the other thing that I was so happy about is I think Scott had, I think at least 30 or 40 people this morning listening in on ZebBell.com all over that part of Michigan. So we really want to tell everybody on the internet, good morning, and a shout out to a beautiful state, the state of Michigan, all the Great Lakes, all the fishing, all the hunting, everything back there. But here was a young man that was so appreciative he had a chance to come out and sample the wild, wild west of Idaho.
He did, yeah. And, just listening to him speak, it really touched my heart. And, that could have been any one of our brothers and sisters. So, I'm glad that he actually came on the air with us this morning.
One quick thing before I do my final commercial. I've got to tell you this. My wife has turned me into a bird watcher.
By proxy, or just because she likes the birdhouse?
No. Now, I've done a little test, and I got to tell you, if you will come here this afternoon and sit out in my backyard and watch the swallows that have built a nest up on my front of my garage. Mm-hmm. The mama swallow. Now, you folks can laugh at me if you want to. She must have a clock in her head, because when she starts the feeding of the young birds in the nest, she takes off from the nest, and I can prove this to you, and she's gone exactly 30 seconds between feedings.
Really? She finds something and then she delivers it.
I'm telling you, Gina, it's amazing. And you can ask my wife, I'm not making this up. We got a stopwatch. And from the time she leaves the nest and goes out and finds whatever to come back to the nest and feed those birds, it's exactly 30 seconds every trip.
Wow. You have way too much time on your hands.
Now, I'm beginning to think you're right, but seriously, it was amazing. I've turned into kind of a bird washer, and I told my neighbors that... What?
I was going to ask you, do you guys have hummingbird feeders?
We do. We do, and we got hummingbirds all over the place out here. But the point I'm getting at is, these birds are amazing, these swallows. Now, how do they know exactly 30 seconds to be gone and that's it?
They have an internal timer. That's the only thing that I can think of. Either that or the little increasing chirps of their little ones. That would be my only guess.
But exactly 30 seconds.
Exactly 30 seconds, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
5,
no, I mean, honest to goodness, I tell you what, I will furnish you and James steak dinners if it's 1 second past 30 seconds.
Or 1 second before.
Yeah.
Okay, 29 or 30. Okay, all right.
You got it. Okay. My birds are smart birds over here, let me tell you. Hey, the best tire value promise in the industry is with your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. The best brake value promise. Oh, they've got the best in brake service. Over 30 years experience, best brake warranty, premium quality parts. All of this at all 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And the best tire value promise. Free peace of mind tire protection and free lifetime tire and mileage care. All of this with the best of tires at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And they've got easy credit plans available. You stop in and see them today. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Tomorrow on the program, we are going to have Tom DeWeese from back east, and he's going to be talking about Agenda 21 and some of the very interesting and dangerous things the government's going to try to impose on us with Agenda 21. And hopefully we're going to have a gun control knowledgeable person, Joe Wilberton, on the program, along with Dr. History. And then Casey is going to be back tomorrow and give us a dissertation on, and I can't remember what he said. I think he just wrote a brand new piece, and I'll have to take that off the computer and tell you more about that in the morning. But we've got a lot of great guests tomorrow. Don't miss it. Zeb at the Ranch, starting at 8:06. We'll saddle the horse and ride for 3 hours. The way things were, the way things ought to be. And God bless. Have a good day. Stay cool.